Hey guys, it's Dan here at J&D Gardens. If you're a new viewer, welcome. Please support the channel by planting that subscribe button. And if you're already a viewer, welcome back. Well, we got a great episode for you today. Today we're going to be talking about the benefits of having worms in your garden. And also we're going to be releasing over 2,000 of them today. So stick around. Welcome back. So we're here in Garden West today, and if you're familiar with our channel, you know that we like to grow things in Garden West year round. Now, come early spring, like early April, we like to start our African marigolds. Now, African marigolds grow very large and they're pretty hardy plants. And we let them grow all summer long till early or late summer, early fall, whichever you want to look at it, sometime in early September, which I guess technically is still summer, but, and we like to start getting ready our fall and winter plants, things like mums and kale cabbage. Now the reason we do that is obviously African marigolds aren't gonna last throughout the winter, but kale cabbage does. Now mums will usually start dying off early December when the frost really starts hitting, but kale cabbage can last, at least here in the Northeast, actually year round. So when we start them in the fall, they'll last through whatever harsh winter there is. I mean, we've had winters where we've had 2 feet of snow piled up in this area. And when it thawed out, the kale cabbage, as long as it was well established, was fine. Didn't get mushy. I know some people have problems with their kale cabbage getting destroyed, but we don't. Because we started early. And right now they're going to be on the watering system. We have some warm weather. I think it's going to be like 80 something degrees today, and they're going to get really well established. Anyway, so having these plants well established, growing well on incredible sunlight and on a watering system, they develop that strong root structure that I talked about. Now, when we're pulling up the plants, that root structure is still very strong, which sometimes can cause problems in some of our gardens. Because when you start digging, it becomes very difficult to get through all that, through all those roots. So a lot of things that we like doing is that in some of our other gardens, we'll actually dig up all the soil, pull it out of the planter beds, and sift everything out. Now that allows us to get any leftover roots, any volunteer plants. Maybe if it's our canna garden, get rid of any old rhizomes and get the soil nice and fluffy and aerated. And then we'll actually mix in some fresh compost in it too. And it works really well. Now, this year when Jackie was working here in the garden, and she started on this side, which is my right side, she started planting all the kale cabbage and the mums, and she was having no problems. She kind of flew right by. I made a couple of shorts about those. She was doing great. But when she came to this side, she started slowing down a little bit. And when I asked her if everything was right, she's telling me, man, she was having a real hard time getting through the soil because there was just so many roots and so much organic material in there in the form of roots that she was having a problem digging through. And I thought it was really interesting because we usually like to till up the garden a little bit before we start the new plants. But one thing that came to mind is that when she started doing working on this side, we made a couple of short videos on this, that we have a massive amount of worms, earthworms in this case, in this garden. Some of them are so big, they look like small snakes. We're gonna see if we can dig some up in a little bit just to kind of show you. Really incredible. And she was just getting through it, no problems. But one thing, and that's what made it come to mind when she was telling me here, she wasn't coming across any of the worms. Now, worms are great for a bunch of reasons, things that they help in the garden. And I'm gonna have Jackie explain that to you right now.
Worms can provide many benefits to the garden, including but not limited to the following. Improving soil structure. Worms burrow through the soil, creating tunnels that improve drainage and aeration. This helps to get water and air to the plant's roots, which can lead to larger root systems. Nutrient-rich castings. Worms break down organic matter and excrete castings that are rich in nutrients and biology. These castings contain organisms like nematodes and protozoa that help to release nutrients for plants. Beneficial bacteria and fungi. Worms digest organic material and excrete beneficial bacteria and fungi that help the soil and plants. These bacteria can attach to plant roots and help them mine minerals from the soil.
Now, isn't that amazing how important earthworms can be to a garden? And you can never have too many of them. But the one thing I want to focus on what Jackie was just explaining to you about how important they are the things they do for your garden, is the way they eat organic material, which is the reason why I wanted to make this video. So as Jackie was working on this planter bed to my right, all the planter beds, there was a huge amount of earthworms in there, really big ones, which we're gonna dig up in a minute, see if we can find some. Now, because there are so many worms in there, and there's usually about a week in between from where we pull out the marigolds, clean up the soil, and then plant the kale cabbage. And with such a population of worms eating so much in there, they're actually cleaning up the roots and all the old spent roots and the roots from the season before. So it's just very clean and fluffy because they also like to aerate the soil. Whereas this side didn't, and that's what the big deal was, that there wasn't enough or any. She said she didn't come across any. I'm sure there are some, but there weren't any in here. So there was just all that leftover root structure and everything from the season before, and obviously the ones from this season. So it's something we definitely want to try, instead of pulling out all the soil, sifting it out, cleaning up, and putting it back, because that's a lot of work. So what I want to try for this season, and we're still early September, so I think they'll be okay, even here in the Northeast. I think I have a few months for them to get kind of situated, start laying eggs. Usually earthworms reproduce double in about 90 days. So I think I'll be okay. They should get going and survive the winter. But I want to show you what I was talking about. So we're going to go over to this first planter bed, and I'm going to see if I can dig up a couple to show you what I'm talking about. All right, so we're here at the first planter bed. And as you can see, we have a couple of few different kinds of kale cabbage, and we have this beautiful pink mum growing. And in another month, it's going to be all blooming. It's going to be incredible. And the soil here, we still have some remnants of bark, because what we do in the summer, we like to cover up the planter bed with bark after we plant the marigolds, and that helps to retain water in the soil, and we don't have to weed as much. So we usually don't have to do that in winter because the weeds don't grow as much, but we might do it. I see a couple of weeds growing. Should have gotten that off camera. But, and that's why the soil stays so rich. Now, we always constantly putting new compost in it, so the soil is just, everything grows well, even in the planter beds over there. But this particular planter bed, it's about 16 feet long, grows the best. If you've seen some of the videos, they grow very tall. We're constantly cutting them very, very thick. And I gotta imagine it's because it actually doesn't get any better sun than that side does, because east is over there, this is west, obviously. So that side's getting the sun, all day. But for some reason, this side does really, really well. So, and like I said, it probably has to be the worms that's doing it for us. So I'm gonna try to dig a couple up because they're so huge in here. Hopefully this doesn't become a blooper reel. Let's see if I can find them. I don't want to ruin it, disrupt any of these, but let's just see, because sometimes we just get lucky and they just kind of go, and I like that. I don't want to disrupt there. See, I'll probably would do is edit this until I find them, but making a little mess there. Let's just see if they come across. Okay, that didn't take us too long. Look at this bad boy. This was really quick, and trust me, I wasn't editing. He is a feisty one. So that's about 6-7 inches long. But honestly, if I dig a little more, he I mean, this is crazy. I don't have worms this big in my Hungry Bin worm farm. And this is a regular earthworm, but he is feisty. He's long, he's big, and he or she is beautiful. And certainly it's important for worms to survive in the soil, for the soil to be nice and moist. You don't want them too dry because they'll just dry out and they'll die. And obviously they hate the sunlight, so they're starting to dry out. So I'm going to put this guy back, but I just wanted to show you. This is a small one, and I'm not kidding. I don't want to spend all video trying to dig this up, but that was pretty quick what I find. And you know, one thing about earthworms, they can be territorial, so I'm sure I'll find more in the different sections. So I'm going to let this guy go back, but I wanted to show you that. So as you go through the soil, you see how simple it is. Is there some organic material? Yes, absolutely. Let me cover this bad boy up. Keep them happy there. Keep eating, buddy. But the soil, I can stick my fingers in it, and it's very simple and very soft. It's very well aerated, and not much organic material in the sense of roots or anything stopping me from just sticking my fingers in. And it really, now we're gonna look at the other side, and you're gonna see what I'm talking about. All right, so we're here on the left side of garden, and they're growing fine. Mums are beautiful. Look at all them colors. This is a nice orange one, really, or rust, I don't know. And these kale cabbage, excuse me, are gorgeous. And as you can see, I keep them on a watering system, so the soil is very moist. And the same thing, we put bark on here during the summer to stop the water from draining out. So it actually should be a perfect environment for the worms like the other side. Why it's not, I do not know. Maybe the birds come here more often and take from this side, but who knows. But still very well, grows fountain here making a lot of noise, but everything grows here very well. But just give you an idea how dense this soil is and not aerated. Like, I'm gonna put my fingers through, and I'm really putting a lot of pressure in it, and very difficult. It didn't go down that low, and I can feel it. I wish you could hear it. The organic material. You see all the roots? Now the other ones I pulled some out, but not like this. There's a lot of root structure in here. Some of it is obviously new from this season. I mean, the marigolds were just here maybe 3 weeks ago, not even. So, but as I'm turning this over, I hope you can kind of see how much root structure is in here. Now, some people like to leave this organic material for it so that it breaks down and helps add nutrients to the soil. And absolutely, it's a very good thing. It's very similar to compost. But when planting, it becomes very difficult. And I wish I had a video camera when Jackie was doing it. Yeah, she's here stabbing at this like she's some kind of hacker, like some Halloween hacker trying to get through this soil. And some of the words that were coming out of her mouth was great. But I understand it was very difficult, so that I came and started working ahead of her, and I was like, yeah, this is not doing it become very difficult. And we just something was wrong. Then, like I said, it dawned on me when we were thinking about the worms and what worms do to a garden by eating up all this soil. Excuse me, all this organic material, all the leftover roots and everything like that. So I think, so what we said we wanted to do is, for this season, and since it's early September, like I said, we're going to be adding some worms to the garden and see if we can encourage the population. Now, I couldn't find a company that would sell me earthworms. If anybody knows that, please leave in the comments. But I decided to go with red wigglers. Now, red wigglers are a very common worm. We're going to pull them out in a second. And we use them for composting. They're incredible. They grow very quickly, and they eat very quickly. So let me get the container of worms, and we'll start putting them in the garden. All right, before we begin placing the worms in the planter bed, let me just kind of tell you a little bit about when you get the worms. Now, every company is different. I like to buy from Uncle Jim's Worm Farm. They're located in Pennsylvania. Great company to work with. I've been using them for years. They ship them out really quick, and they guarantee that your worms are going to come to you alive, or if not, they'll replace them. And I ordered mine on a Monday afternoon. They didn't ship out till the next day, which was Tuesday morning, obviously. And I got them by the end of the day, Wednesday. Now, they are in Pennsylvania. I'm from New Jersey, so that makes a big difference. But good company to work with. There's probably other worm farms. If you're on the West Coast, probably better to find a worm farm near you. But if you're here in the East Coast, they do a great job. Been around for a long time. Now, when they come, they're going to come in this cool, nifty bag, which matches the shirt. And I don't get any endorsements for this. I just like the company so much, and how can you not love that face? So I just had to buy a shirt. So when they come in the bag, they just, in the cocoa core, which they're packed in, and all they do is just kind of tighten it up and wrap it on real tight, so the worms can't escape. Now, since I wasn't going to be filming till the weekend, I knew that I wasn't going to leave them in the bag because I didn't want them to die out. So I got just a seed starting tray, and I kind of put them in there and spread them out. And I've been giving them some water just to keep them moist, and some food as well, which I actually brought it from Uncle Jim's too, the worm food. Not sure what's in it, but I'm sure it's great. So I'm going to be feeding it to my worms in my hungry bin as well. But I want to make sure that they were alive when I got them, and they were, and I wanted to keep them happy until I can actually put them in the soil. So funny little story, and just something to think about, since if you can't get to them right away, you don't want to leave them in the bag because you don't want them to die out. So I put them in this tray, and I put the humidity dome, like you would see, and it was fine because I didn't want them to escape. But let me tell you, worms find their way through everything. So the next morning, and thank God it was in my garage, I didn't leave them in my kitchen or anything. But the next day, the worms have seeped out because there's a little gap in between. They found their way through the humidity dome, and I found a bunch on the table and on the floor, and I was like, oh my God. So I was picking up tons of worms, putting them back in there. So if you are going to put them in some kind of Tupperware or some kind of tray like this, be careful. You don't want to obviously suffocate them. But what I wound up doing the next day is I just got some regular painter's tape, just a little tip, and I kind of sealed the sides around, and that worked perfectly. So I have all this leftover tape just to cover them all the way around so none of them can get through. And they've been in here for a few days now, and they're fine, but they're ready to get in the ground, and we're happy to be putting them in there. Hopefully they can do everything that we need them to do inside the garden. So again, so the kind that I ordered, and they have different ones there at Uncle Jim's Worm Farm. These are red wigglers, and these are the same ones that I use for composting. And they in my hungry bin, I do a lot of videos on my hungry bin worm farm, vermicomposting, and they're great. And the reason why is, as I mentioned before, that they're quick to reproduce, and they eat very quick, and they don't seem to die off. I've had them in my hungry bin for, this is the third year, I think, and I just having a problem. They just keep reproducing, and they just eating so quick, so I'm happy with them. I couldn't find a company, like I said, that sold earthworms, so I figured let me try these, and I'm sure they're going to be fine. So now I have I have 3 planter beds, 2 of them 16 feet long, another one about 10 feet long, and they're broken up into 2 sections. Now, so I got to kind of disperse them throughout. And now I don't want to, I'm not going to count them. Obviously, that's not going to be practical. So since each planter bed has 2 sections with a divider in between to hold it, I actually have to break them up into 6, like I said. And I'm not sure. I think I'm just going to kind of take a little portion of each, and just hopefully that'll work. And since they multiply so quick, it should be good. I think they said worms can multiply within 90 days, double their population. So if that lasts, hopefully before the frost comes, then they should be well established. So we'll see. So let's head over there, start at the first planter bed, and we'll see how we make out. Okay, so we're at first side of the planter bed, right next to the fountain, and there's probably the best thing to do when adding your worms is to start it on one end. You start it on one end, and they'll just make their way across. Earthworms and even red wigglers move very fast through the soil, so no sense in kind of spreading it everywhere. So I'm just gonna break through a little bit here, and I can hear the cracking. I wish you could, of all the roots that are in there. Yeah, there's a lot. I don't know if my microphone's picking that up, but it's pretty wild. So let's move this over. Oh yeah, I don't know if you heard that. Hopefully you did. A lot of roots in there. And it's certainly not these mums, because they haven't grown that quickly. So doing it in a hole, not too huge. I'm gonna, now normally I would add some other kind, now there's plenty of organic material, and normally I would add, like I do in my Hungry Bin, different kind of food, like food scraps, like any kind of table scraps or anything like that, anything other than like meat or dairy. But since I got this food and I want to use it, the worm food, I'm gonna add a little bit of in here, just kind of spread it around. Probably more than I need to, but that's okay. The worms, I want them to get nice and fat. Now, like I said, there's no real way of doing this because I'm not going to count. I'm just going to make sure I have a good handful of them, and as I'm seeing, so I'm going to take, oh yeah, I see a bunch of them in there. Hope you can make that out. Oh, sorry. I hope you can make that out. So, I'm going to just kind of put them in there with the cocoa core and all, a bunch of worms, and situate them there. Okay, I see a lot of activity. That's great. I'll put a little bit more. Should be good because this is the real planter bed that I really want to put it in. So I'm going to cover them up now. Now this is actually a good time of year, I think anyway, because there aren't as many birds in the area. The birds, worms don't like going up to the soil too much because of all the predators. And during the summer, we have tons of nests. Birds put a ton of nests around here. I've made some videos on them, and sometimes I put a GoPro by their nest, and I see the mother coming back feeding them. She comes back with a mouthful of worms, and it's pretty wild. So she must be getting them from the garden. Maybe she's getting them from this side. That's the problem. I don't know, but it's pretty crazy. So this time of the year, the worms are going to start. The birds are going to start going away for the fall. And they're just not, I guess maybe they're not as mating as much. So I haven't seen them around, and they're not building any more nests. So hopefully these guys will be good. They're covered up, and hopefully they'll be fine. We're going to see how it goes. So let's head over to the next planter bed. So here we are on the other side of the planter bed. And as you can tell, there's a piece of wood here as a divider. Now I did that because the planter bed is so long, it's about 16 feet, that if I left that open, all the weight of the soil will blow it out. So I have to have this divider so I can screw in to hold it together. So I don't think the worms are going to crawl over the wood piece. And they're not going to burrow through the wood, definitely. So I figured, let me make sure I want this to work as well as possible. So I'm just going to do it on this side. I'm treating this half of the planter bed like a brand new one. So again, a lot of organic material. Okay, so okay, there. So again, not sure. Just gonna add some worm food, get them started. Again, I'm happy for the new spot. I'm gonna there's a good handful right in the middle. Oh yeah, look at these bad boys. I feel them moving in my hands. So, put them right there. A little bit more, yeah, a ton of them. You know, sometimes when you get the package, you don't feel like there's that many, but once you start digging through all that cocoa core, there really is. So, okay, just gonna cover up the soil, and hope the mum's not in the way. You've seen this. I got my watering system right here, so I'm gonna put them right here, so they're gonna be nice and moist, which is always a good thing. So there you go. I think this side. And so it's about 7.5, 8 feet because it's 16 feet when you add the wood. So they should be able to get through this in a couple of days, and hopefully just keep going back and forth and clean up. So I'm gonna finish doing the other planter beds, and we'll finish up the video. So we're here on the left side of the garden, and I said the left side was doing well, and it is. These two large planter beds are doing well. But this one is actually a new planter bed that I just put in this year. You can see the wood is still normally it hasn't grayed over because I haven't been here for years. So I obviously want to make sure I figure I left enough. I did the 6 areas that I talked about, but I still have some left over because, as I said, there was over 2,000 of them, and I want to get them going in this garden. And I don't think they would leave the other beds because they can't get through the wood. So might as well have some. And this soil is nice and soft, obviously, because still some roots in it from the African marigolds that were here, because we did have them in here, but not as bad. Still a little softer, but we want to stop that kind of root growth. And like I said, this is literally this season alone. So these worms are going to love eating that up, or at least I hope they're going to. So I'm going to put some worm food in there. And boy, they want to get out of the sun. They're moving around pretty good here. You want to get in closely? See these bad boys moving around in here? Wow, that one's jumping around. Yeah, a lot of activity, which is awesome. Totally awesome. Still a lot of worms left over. Wow, that's great. Doesn't seem like 2,000 at first, but yeah, there's a ton of them. So I'm going to get them in there. They're hopping to get out. I'll keep these bad boys happening. And all right, I'm going to cover them up. To be good, and we'll just it's all this organic material. We'll see. Well, I guess, wow, a lot more than I thought. I'll go back and put some in more of the others, or maybe I'll put a few new ones in the worm farm, but who knows. They kind of burrow their way really quick, but if I shake them up there, you can kind of see them come to the top. There we go. Look at all that. And I already went through a bunch. See, they bury these. That's a lot of activity. They want to get out of the sun. So I'm going to oblige them in a second. Let's just get them. Hopefully they're digging that. Let's go to this last one. Let's see. Okay, we'll put it in the back. Actually have here as my gas meter pipe, so I'll do it on this side. Oh yeah, this is nice and soft soil. Look at that. Not one root in there. Beautiful. Like I said, we just did this a couple of months ago. So, wow. Actually, I have a lot more worms than I thought. So let me give a good handful there, and maybe I'll go back and add more to those. Look at that. I think that should be good. I don't know. And have these left over. Maybe I'll use these in the hungry bin, or I'll go back and just add some more. So let's finish up the video. Let's just go through it all. Step back a little bit, and then stop at that end. All right, so there you go. Got them all laid out. Hopefully they're gonna do well. Now I've turned on the watering system. We want to make sure that the worms stay nice and moist. They've been dry, well, a little dry for the last couple of days. Probably over at Uncle Jim's worm farm, they were really worked up with the moisture. So we want to make sure they get nice and hydrated and nice and fat and get them moving. So hopefully this is going to help the soil. What we're going to do is obviously we're going to monitor it. We're going to check in a couple of months, see how they're doing, and we'll just kind of go from different areas, see if we're seeing more of the roots being eaten up, all the leftover organic material. And definitely in the spring we'll find out how, see if they survived and hopefully and thriving here, and hopefully we have a mild winter. I heard we're gonna have a mild winter. I hope so, because I don't want any of these to freeze over. And hopefully these planter beds are gonna be nice as clean as those other ones and really thriving. So fingers crossed. So anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd absolutely love to hear from you. And be sure to hit like and subscribe and ring that bell. So from all of us here at J&D Gardens, till next time, remember, yes we canna.